For over a decade, a stretch of sand on Long Island concealed a dark secret. The remains of at least 11 victims scattered along the remote Gilgo Beach area, a mystery that haunted New York for years, known simply as the Gilgo Beach murders. Today, we're going deep into one of America's most chilling unsolved serial killer cases. That is, until 2023, when everything changed. Let's start from the beginning. November 2nd, 1993. The remains of 31-year-old Rita Tangredi were found. She had been beaten and strangled. Her underwear and left shoe were missing. She was posed in a very specific way, and her body had been covered with wood chips. Tangredi was a known sex worker and was last seen the day before. November 20th, 1993. 28-year-old Sandra Costilla's remains were found. She had been strangled to death and was partially clothed. However, there were no other similarities to Rita Tangredi. Costilla was not a sex worker and was last seen on the 15th of November. January 30th, 1994. 20-year-old Colleen McNamee was found. She had been strangled and beaten. Her body had been posed in the same way as Rita, and she was also missing her underwear and left shoe. McNamee was known to be a sex worker and was last seen on the 5th of January. April 20th, 1996. A pair of legs are found wrapped in plastic. At the time, she was known as Jane Doe 7. Her remains were identified on August 23, 2023, as 34-year-old Karen Vergata. Vergata was a known escort and had not been heard from since February 14, 1996. June 28, 1997. The torso of a woman was found wrapped in plastic garbage bags inside a green Rubbermaid container. At the time, she was known as Peaches, from a tattoo found on her body. Her remains were identified on the 23rd of April 2025 as that of 26-year-old Tanya Jackson. Jackson was a U.S. Army veteran who was estranged from her family and had never been reported missing. November 19, 2000. The remains of Jane Doe 6 were found wrapped in several layers of garbage bags. Her head, hands, and feet had been removed. She was identified on May 29, 2020, as 24-year-old Valerie Mack. Mack was known to be a sex worker. July 23, 2003. The remains of Jessica Taylor were found. She had been wrapped in a plastic sheet, and in an attempt to hide her identification, the killer had removed her head and hands and had tried to obscure a tattoo on her lower back. She had been last seen on the 21st of July. Taylor was a sex worker. Police knew they had a serial killer on their hands. But who? Then at 4:51 a.m. on May 1, 2010, a breakthrough. 20-year-old Shannon Gilbert, a sex worker, makes a frantic 911 call in Oak Beach, Long Island, and vanishes. The call lasts for 21 minutes, and Shannon can be heard saying several times, "There is somebody after me. The name Mike, and they are going to kill me." The 911 operator is unable to get an exact location. The police spend many months looking for Shannon around Oak Beach, which is a gated community, but can't find her. In December, they bring in the cadaver dogs and start looking further afield. December 11, 2010. While police were still searching for Shannon, they stumbled on something else. A skeletal body wrapped in a disintegrating burlap sack in the underbrush. The remains were of 24-year-old Melissa Barthelemy. She was last seen on July 10, 2009 in the Bronx, New York. In the months after her disappearance, Barthelemy's younger sister received several taunting calls from an unidentified male using Melissa's phone and later a burner phone. The calls came from downtown Manhattan and Massapequa in Long Island. December 13, 2010. 3 more bodies were found within 800 meters of Barthelemy. 25-year-old Maureen Brainerd Barnes, who was last seen on July 9, 2007, in New York City. She had been bound with 3 leather belts. 22-year-old Megan Waterman, who was last seen on June 6, 2010, in Hauppauge, New York, and 27-year-old Amber Lynn Costello, who was last seen on September 2, 2010, in West Babylon, New York, getting into a dark green first-generation Chevrolet Avalanche. All 4 bodies were wrapped in similar burlap sacks. All had died due to homicidal violence. All had been bound, and all 4 were sex workers advertising on Craigslist. These 4 women came to be known as the Gilgo Four. March 29, 2011. Jessica Taylor's skull and forearm are discovered. April 4, 2011. 3 more sets of remains are found. The head, right foot, and hands of Valerie Mack. The second set is a baby, who was identified on the 23rd of April 2025 as Tatiana Dykes, the 2-year-old daughter of Tanya Jackson, and the third set is of an Asian male known only as Asian Doe. He had been killed by blunt force trauma to the head and was wearing female clothes. As of April 2025, he has still not been identified. He is believed to be between 17 to 23, 160 to 175 centimeters tall. His ethnicity is Han Chinese. He is missing 4 teeth and may have a musculoskeletal disorder, which could have affected his gait. He had been dead for between 5 to 10 years when found in 2011. A composite of Asian Doe has been released as a male and a female, as it is unknown if Asian Doe was a cross-dresser or a trans woman. April 11, 2011. 2 more sets of remains are found. The head and legs of Tanya Jackson and the head and teeth of Karen Vergata. December 13, 2011. Shannon Gilbert's remains are found not far from where she made the 911 call. Officials controversially ruled her death accidental. Her family disagree. Many believe Shannon was the key to the whole case. The lack of answers leads to frustration and accusations of police corruption and incompetence. An independent coroner's report shows signs of strangulation. However, her death has still been ruled an accident. The sheer scale stuns investigators. Despite extensive media coverage and efforts from Suffolk County Police, the case goes cold. Theories range from one serial killer to multiple. In 2011, the identity of many of the victims still remained a mystery. July 21, 2014. Police arrest John Bitroff. Bitroff's brother was arrested and required to give a DNA sample in 2013. That DNA was a partial match to the DNA found on Rita Tangradi and Colleen McNamee. What about all the rest? There was DNA found on the other victims. None matched Bitroff. Bitroff was charged on July 5, 2017, and given 25 years for each murder. His sentences are to run consecutively. He is held at the Clinton Correctional Facility. Years passed. Leads dried up, but behind the scenes everything was changing. Advances in technology, especially forensic genealogy, were opening new doors. In early 2022, investigators formed a dedicated task force to take a fresh look at the case. They re-examined cell tower data, DNA evidence, and witness statements, searching for overlooked connections. One clue stood out: a dark green first-generation Chevrolet Avalanche, the same type of vehicle last seen with victim Amber Costello. That lead traced police to a home in Massapequa, the same area where the taunting phone calls to Melissa Barthelemy's sister had originated. The house belonged to Rex Heuermann, a 59-year-old architect with an office in Manhattan, where additional calls had been placed. Surveillance began. Detectives retrieved DNA from a discarded pizza box Heuermann threw away near his office. The mitochondrial DNA matched several victims. A soda can recovered from the trash also provided his daughter's DNA, which linked to hairs found on some victims. However, investigators confirmed that both his wife and daughter were out of town during the murders and are not considered suspects. On July 13, 2023, police arrested Rex Heuermann. He was charged with the murders of Melissa Barthelemy, Megan Waterman, and Amber Costello. On June 6, 2024, charges were expanded to include the murder of Maureen Brainerd Barnes. By December 2024, he faced additional charges in the deaths of Jessica Taylor, Valerie Mack, and Sandra Castilla. Searches of his home and computers revealed disturbing internet activity, including searches for torture-related pornography. Investigators also revisited a key piece of evidence: a leather belt recovered with one of the victims, stamped with the initials WH. They now suspect it may have belonged to Heuermann's grandfather, William. Heuermann is currently held without bail at the Riverhead Correctional Facility. His defense maintains his innocence. Prosecutors, however, are preparing for a major trial expected later this year. If convicted, he could face life in prison without parole. Meanwhile, investigators continue to search his home in Massapequa, South Carolina, and storage units in Amityville. Heuermann also had a timeshare in Vegas since 2003 and a second in 2005. They believe there could be more victims, possibly many more. Currently, police are looking into 5 other cases that could be linked to Heuermann. In Vegas, the torso of 25-year-old Misty Cairns was found wrapped in plastic bags and cloth in 2003. The torso of 19-year-old Jody Marie Brewer was found wrapped in cloth and plastic on August 29, 2003. and the legs of 21-year-old Lindsay Harris were found on May 23, 2005. Jessica Foster hasn't been seen since March 28, 2006. She is still missing. All four were known sex workers in Vegas, all advertised online. Another case that could be linked to Rex is that of 18-year-old Aaliyah Bell, who went missing in South Carolina in November 2014, not far from vacant land that Heuermann owned. As of April 2025, there have been no charges laid for the deaths of Asian Doe, Karen Vergata, Tanya Jackson, or her daughter Tatiana. The case of Shannon Gilbert has been closed despite the independent findings that she had been strangled. For the families, justice is only beginning. And for the town of Gilgo Beach, the shadow of these murders may never fully fade. Thanks for watching. I hope to see you again soon.